Hey guys, Dustin with Family Tree Investing. About to get on this walk, but today I wanted to talk to you guys about a home equity line of credit and a home equity loan, kind of the differences between the two, and how you can buy a rental property with this product. So I'll also be giving some information on how we personally used a home equity line of credit to purchase a duplex here in Green Bay. So stay tuned and I'll get into it. Thanks.
Turn this way. Where you going, lady?
All right, so the first thing that we have to start off by is talking about how these types of products, a home equity loan and home equity line of credit, apply to your primary residence. So you're going to need to live here in order for these things to actually apply to your situation. A caveat to that, something to keep in mind, is that it can also apply to you if you're living in an investment property. So that could be a duplex, a triplex, something like that. You just have to be owner occupying this or keeping it as your primary residence. That's how actually we did it, and that's the example I'll be using. So just keep that in mind. The next thing is we have to talk about the difference between a home equity loan and a home equity line of credit. So a home equity loan is just that. It's a loan that a bank gives to you that uses your home as collateral. These types of loans typically are paid in one lump sum amount, and the repayment period is somewhere from 5 to 15 years, sometimes even longer. And these can be great for anyone looking for a large lump sum payment to use, maybe consolidate debt, something of that sort, because that interest rate, since your home is being used as the collateral, typically is a lot lower than anything like credit card debt and maybe even some student loan debt. So this can be a great option for folks who have a large lump sum payment that they need, that they can shift a lot of that high interest debt to something with a lot lower interest rate. So one of the downsides of a home equity loan is that you have to start repaying on that loan amount, that entire amount of that loan you take from day one. As soon as that first payment starts, you're paying principal and interest back on that loan for that entire period. That's kind of a downside in my opinion, because now maybe you're not even using it yet, or you just took this loan out to use it down the road. You're still going to be paying on that, even if it's just sitting in a bank account. So that to me is a slight downside of this particular product. Okay, so now the home equity line of credit. This is a little bit different. Instead of a lump sum loan, now what you're signing up for is a revolving line of credit against the equity in your primary residence. So instead of that bank telling you, hey, we can loan you up to this amount and we'll give you one lump sum payment, that same bank is going to extend you a line of credit, sort of like what you get approved for on a credit card. But the difference is that this particular line of credit is at an exceptional interest rate, and you've got a lot of flexibility on what you can use those funds for. So one of the interesting things about a home equity line of credit, otherwise referred to as a HELOC, is that the interest rate typically fluctuates. So this is a little different than the loan, in which the interest might be fixed again for that time period in which you repay it. A HELOC has a variable interest rate, so it can move up and down with the market, things like that. But in general, I haven't found that this to be too dramatic where you're going to notice a huge impact. Right about now, my HELOC sits around 6%, something like that. So, and we're filming this in February of 2020. So, still much better than a lot of those credit cards that are out there with 10, 15, 20% interest rates. So in order to establish how much of a home equity line of credit you're entitled to, your lender that you work with is going to establish what loan to value that they're willing to provide for. So what this means is that your lender might be willing to give you a loan amount up to 80% of your of the value of your home, minus any debts, or minus any other liens that are on the house. So by way of example, if your primary home appraises for, let's say, $200,000, and this bank is willing to give you a line of credit for 80% loan to value, 80% LTV, then the math works like this: 80% of $200,000 is $160,000. You have to figure out what your remaining balance on your first mortgage is. Let's just say you've paid it down. Maybe you have $100,000 left on that original loan amount. Well, you take $160,000. That's the 80% of the appraised value, minus $100,000, your remaining loan, and that bank will give you the difference. So in this case, $160,000 minus $100,000, a $60,000 loan of credit, a $60,000 line of credit for you to use as you please. Okay, so lastly, why we love HELOCs. And the first is something that we already mentioned, is that the interest rates are very good. Of course, you can do a lot of great things with credit cards and with savings and things like that, but I think a home equity line of credit is that perfect in between. So if you use cash to pay with something, that's great. If you use a high interest credit card, that has its pitfalls because the cost and expense is so high. Well, a home equity line of credit is that perfect middle ground, I feel like, where you're still going to be paying an interest rate. All right, you can't escape that in this, using this method, but it's an interest rate that I think is low enough where when you're buying rental properties and things like that, your returns on that rental should far exceed what you're paying for your interest expense on this home equity line of credit. So it's that perfect middle ground, I think, where you can tap into the equity of your home, not break the bank by paying excess interest and things like that to a credit card company, and allows you to put that money to work. Another benefit is that you can use this money for whatever you want. Maybe some of those other loan products out there have some of that freedom also, but I really like knowing that when I take this line of credit, I can really put it towards whatever I want, and it's up to you as the investor to decide where to put that money and make it work for you. The last is you can repay this line of credit at your pace. So I would actually never recommend that anybody pay less than they should be on a loan like this, but there's always a case to be made for folks who might need to pay a little less one month and then maybe put a little more towards it another month as you're repaying this line of credit back. So for example, or let's just say you have a rental property and one of the units just gets turned over. It needs a little work and you want to put maybe some more into it so you can get a better rent. You can use your line of credit then, pull exactly how much you need, no more, no less, and put that work into it. Maybe you got to replace a water heater, the carpet, maybe add some different fixtures or counters or something like that to get a better rent. So when you're performing these renovations, you might be tapping into that line of credit, and maybe that first month or something like that, you don't want to make the full principal and interest payment back in that line of credit. That's okay. You can actually just make an interest payment back for that particular month. Now, I would highly recommend, this is what we do, as soon as you get that rental unit rented back out hopefully at your higher premium by doing these renovations, you take all of that cash flow and return it right back to the home equity line of credit to rinse and repeat and keep that going. So the flexibility is something that I value a lot in this. Okay, last but not least is an example of how we used a HELOC to purchase an investment property. So flashback to 2017, Brittany and I moved into and purchased a duplex. That duplex cost us $162,000, and we put 15% down. So that gave us a loan balance of about $138,000. I thought we got a really good deal at the time. I was constantly looking for properties in this neighborhood. I knew about what rents were going for. I knew about what prices were going for, and I knew that this place actually was priced a little bit below market value. So flash forward to 2019, and we knew at that time I started learning about home equity line of credit, and we wanted to understand how much we could actually benefit from these products. So we went out to that same lender that we used, and it turned out that it appraised for $189,000. So we knew right there we had equity to use. This particular lender allowed for 90% loan to value. That equaled out to be about $170,000. Now you take that $170,000 minus what we had left on our first loan, the loan that we got back in 2017, and that equaled out to be maybe about $135,000. You take the difference of those, and there's your total amount. In our case, that was about $35,000 that we had access to at about 6% interest. Now we used this money to actually fund a duplex that we found. This duplex was marketed for about $110,000. That's about what we paid for it. We put 25% down, equaled out to be about $27,500. So that was, our line of credit, if we chose to use all of that, would cover all of that. Now, we had a bit of savings, so we used a little bit of our savings and a little bit of that line of credit to fund that entire down payment and get into that duplex. Now that duplex on day one started cash flowing about $500 per month. And the thing that we did, and what I kind of hinted at earlier in this video, is that I would highly recommend you taking that cash flow and putting it all back to that line of credit. So in our case, $500 a month was going immediately back to where we got it in that line of credit to pay it back, and when another deal comes up, apply it towards that next deal. Hey guys, thanks for watching this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any more questions about home equity line of credit or home equity loan, feel free to leave me a comment and I'll try to get back to you. Until next time, it's Dustin with Family Tree Investing. Talk to you soon.